welcome back to Step by Step. This video follows the one, my previous video, which was all about TDS, total dissolved solids. So I think the first thing to say is, if you jumped into this video and not seen the other video, go and watch the other video first to give the context to this one. So, and I just thought also just to mention that for each of the videos I do, I also put a fairly detailed description. If you go onto the description of the video, I tend to put more information on there for you and try to, in a way, generalise for the videos. So also have a look at the descriptions that I add on. So yeah, so this one is largely about people that have issues within their aquarium. So they've gone out now, they've got a TDS, they've done a check on their sort of level within their aquarium, and all of a sudden now they're panicking because their TDS is showing a high number or a very low number, and then they've looked at what fish they have and thought that is nowhere near where that water needs to be. So I mean the first thing to say, I think I'll start off this video by saying this, that if you're going to try and target a range of a fish species, and let's just say it's 100 to 300, okay, and what you're going to panic every time that number gets to 300, but at the same time that doesn't mean that you should target the lowest number, because the lowest number is just as near to being too low than the highest number is to being too high, if that makes sense. So use those sort of a range as a sort of guide. As I said, don't target the low number, because that in a way is just as bad as being worried about the high number. So that is the first thing. Also, just be a bit cautious about some of the internet information, because sometimes what people are talking about are TDS of wild fish, a wild guppy or a wild tetra or those other things. And you've just got to bear in mind that the fish you get from an aquarium or from a shop has been bred for generations in probably more normalised water than where they might be from. So that's the other thing to be a bit cautious about. So, okay, I'm going to split this video up into maybe 3 parts. It's probably the easiest way to deal with it. And the first part is for those people that have a good water supply in terms of the quality, but their levels in their aquarium are just a tad in the wrong place to where they want them to be. So we're not talking miles out. It's sort of in the sort of range or thereabouts, but maybe the upper range is soon reached, within a shorter period of time. So what can you do in that scenario? And in a way, this is probably the easiest thing, because it comes down to the things I've been mentioning in most of my videos. So the way to control TDS or to regulate TDS is through water changes. That is the way you do it. And by doing regular water changes, you're going to drop the TDS to a new level beyond which it will rise back up again. So what you might need to do is just look at the frequency that you're doing. And I always say change the frequency, not the volume. In other words, don't go mad and don't do a 75% water change, because that is not going to do your fish any good. But what I'm saying is, rather than do a weekly change, maybe do a twice weekly change, or do it every 5 days or something, something like that, just to regulate the TDS purely through water changes. Cleanliness is a key thing, and maybe above that is don't overfeed your fish. I'm always saying this, but overfeeding fish is the problem, is the root to all evil in aquariums. It is probably the biggest reason that people have issues, is overfeeding their fish. So don't overfeed your fish. Less is more when it comes to feeding fish, and don't be hypnotised by the pleading of your fish. I said before, feed them, and then half an hour go back, and they'll all be knocking on the glass saying, "Oh, I'm starving." Just ignore that. That's what fish do. Keep your sponge filter clean. I've talked about taking out on a regular basis and squeezing the food out of it, the waste. Do that, because anything to do with waste in your aquarium is adding to your TDS. Also, at the same time, keep on top of the waste. So the waste, get yourself a vacuum or something like that, and do a regular cleanse of your aquarium underneath the ceramic media, and get some of that waste out. Now, if you keep doing that, that should really keep for most people, it will keep their TDS in the right place they need to do. Another thing you can just have a look at is whether you've got anything in your aquarium, natural rock or shells or something like that, that actually might be leaching, in effect, TDS into your water. And if that is the case, you've got to sort of ask yourself, is that really necessary? So if you don't, just check on more the natural things within your aquarium, and replace them. If that helps, just try it for a week. Just take them out and see what happens. See if that makes a difference to your TDS. Now, in all this stuff, you don't fall into the trap of rushing things, because you'll find that when you start to make these improvements, that it might take a while, because you're only dealing with your water changes. You're only dealing with part of the aquarium water, and it's going to take a while for that really to have an effect over the aquarium itself and the water within it. So that's that one. So part two. So part two is about those people who have a tap water that's a bit higher than where they really need it to be. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something interesting. So here's, I keep my labels so I don't lose them. That's a sample of my tap water cold. Here's a sample of from my hot water supply, but it's cold. These are all the same temperature. So that's taken from my hot water supply within the house, and that's my kettle. Now, it's all the same thing. It's all coming in the same place originally, but if I show you this, so I'll use this TDS because it's got a nice. So my tap water has, I think it's shown 167, thereabouts. Yeah, 167. Okay. This is water from my hot water tap. 180, 183. So you can see the difference between one and the other. And just so you can see, this is from my kettle. 388. Now, this is all coming from the same place, but it's just how that water's been stored and the environment it's in that is making that difference. So that, I think that is quite an important thing to know, because it could make a difference. Now, in one of my really early videos, I talked about how to heat water. So you basically use my standard 5 litre bottles, and what I said on that video is that you put a certain amount in of your hot water, and then you top it up, and that's how you get your sort of temperature. So you take a temperature reading and you regulate between hot and cold until you get there. I also hinted that there was another way that I heated my water, but I actually didn't say. I realised when I look back at that video that I said I was going to describe that, but I never did. So I am going to now describe it, because what you need to do if you want to get your TDS to what is reasonable within your from your tap. So mine of you know, that sort of 170, whatever it was. Yeah, so that, I mean, that, you know, well, this is why I always have this. This is why I always have this smaller bucket. I have a larger bucket that I use from the water changes, but I have a smaller bucket. And all you need to do is you just fill up to 5 litres directly from your tap, put that 5 litres in your bucket, and then put hot water into the bucket. So you're not adding hot water into your tap water. You're heating the water by putting hot water in here. Don't use boiling water, by the way. Just use hot water from your tap. It takes a bit longer, and again, normal thing. You just wait for that temperature to rise, and you'll find by doing that it won't make a lot of difference. So in my case, my tap water is 173. Doing it this way, and also putting in AquaSafe as well, which most people think, oh, that's going to add to TDS. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. That means my water for my aquarium, well, when it's at the right temperature, is 175 compared to my tap of 173. If I was to mix my water with some hot water from my tap, that would change my TDS. So that might be enough to solve your problem in a way. Just making sure that you use, making sure that your supply water that you're using has a good sort of TDS sort of level. And you know, sometimes you're never going to get there, you know, and sometimes it's just making an improvement that is all you need to do. You know, if you can just improve things for your fish, then improve it. Sometimes it's not going to happen, you know, it's not your fault, it's your tap water, people, so you have a go at your supplier. I remember what I said, or don't target the lowest number. Midpoint is probably a good place to be, you know, if you've got that range. So that is what you can do there. Now, hopefully, those two things, or those two parts that I've just mentioned, deal with quite a number of you and sort that problem out or make it better. Now, the next part is where you have either a very your water supply is not very good, or it might be the case that your water supply is reasonably good, but the fish you have a threshold that's lower than that. So what you do in that case, I'm going to move these out of the way and get rid of them. Okay, stay there, I'm going to go and get something. There. It's not the new biOrb aquarium, by the way. This is called Zero Water, and you might have seen this product. They do things like, you know, they put a bottle of wine in and it goes through a filter system. It comes out water at the bottom, so it's called Zero Water. Normally, with large aquariums, people have water systems that improve the quality of their water, and there might be very, very important reasons why they're doing that. And they normally use RODI, which is a system that undertakes a reverse osmosis of the water supply, and then it undertakes deionization as well. So it's a system that, in effect, strips water of everything apart from pure water. So if you were to take a reading of a TDS of water that's coming out through there, it's going to be around about 0. So now getting an RODI system plumbed into your system and all that stuff, for a biOrb owner is a bit of, I would say it's a bit of a nonsense unless you really, really want to do it. But it's just out of proportion to having a biOrb. Now this here, zero water, does in effect the same thing. It strips everything out of your water supply. So you have water that has a TDS of 0. Okay. Now, a word of caution here. If you were you might think, oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to fill my aquarium with this stuff. No. Zero water is completely stripped of all the things that also fish and if you've got plants need. And in terms of pH, the pH of this water is about 6.5 to 7, something like that. But it doesn't have any buffering in it at all, and that pH might just crash for no reason. So use this sort of water sort of cautiously is what I'm going to say. What most people do with those big aquariums I mentioned is they push the water through their RO/DI system, and that removes all the minerals and the buffering. Then they add it all back in. So they add the minerals back in, and then they add also the buffering in there as well. So they they mess around with the hardness of the water. They increase the alkalinity of the water to make it buffer, to keep a pH sort of level. So that's the caution I'm going to say about this. Now, if you do plan to go and get one of these, and they do a much smaller jug. I mean, this is a 7 litre jug, but you know, you probably don't need a 7 litre at all. It's not the reason, you know, that isn't the reason I have this. It's not for the aquarium. It's not for my aquariums, but I do use it as well for that. But they do much smaller jugs, and they have a 5-stage system, sort of filtration system. As I said, you put wine in here and water comes out the bottom. You put water in here and pure water comes out the bottom. Now, I'm going to show you something. So I've mixed up all my glass. It doesn't matter, I suppose. It doesn't matter. So I think this is my tap water. Yeah, it is. Okay, so 176. My tap water. Now I'm just going to, you see the level it is there. I'm just going to add that's not even a quarter of the content, if you like. So I've now added some zero water. Now you can guess what this is going to do to my water. So it's 176. So now it's 138. So by adding zero water to my tap water, I've lowered my sort of TDS range by using this stuff, because I've added zero water into tap water, and it's balanced. You can almost work out with a calculator what zero water is going to do to your tap water. Now, as I said, a word of caution. I would not suggest that you go more than a quarter of your water bottle. So if you're going to go down this road, and it is a solution, if you're going to go down this road, get your water bottle, mark up a line for a quarter of the volume. Oh no, I'll tell you what. Roughly do a quarter, and then 3/4 of your tap. Okay, and then test what that does. If that's more than enough, well, try an eighth. You know, try and find. Don't go over the top. Try and find a level that sort of takes you into a reasonably good place. But I certainly wouldn't go more than adding a quarter in there, because you will affect, or you can affect, your pH and other things as well. So by cutting the water, because that's exactly what this is actually called, with we're cutting tap water with in effect RO/DI water, and this tap water component has all the minerals and the buffering to sort out the issues that otherwise might come with here. So that is a way, that is your last step way. As I said, don't go, I'm advising you not to go more than a quarter, and always test your water as well. Do some trials. That's what I do all the time. Do a test. Do a quarter, and 3/4. It's more like a mathematics video. And then 3/4 of tap water. Sample your do your TDS and see what that does. Then get out your API test kit and check that water. And then once everything's looking okay, the pH is looking about right, everything's, all those sorts of things, then that is okay to go into your aquarium. And then just do the normal thing. You know what I said before. Use a bucket, warm your water, still put your aquasafe in, and do all that stuff. And that will get your TDS level much lower, really, by doing that. But don't use zero water as your water. Don't use zero water as a water change. Neat zero. Don't do that. Okay, for water changes. But an aquarium, and especially a heated aquarium, the water evaporates certainly over a period of a week, and you'll notice it might only be about this much, but your water will come down a bit. Now, what's happening is your water, or part of your aquarium, is evaporating, and in effect what it's doing, it's evaporating zero water. So it's leaving the TDS component in the aquarium, and in effect it's making it slightly more concentrated, because pure water is escaping through evaporation. Now you can top that water up that's gone missing. If you were to do that with your tap water and that stuff, what you're doing in effect is you're adding more TDS in. So the TDS has got a bit more concentrated because some of the water's evaporated, and then you're going along and then you're putting some more water, tap water, in with a TDS level that is going to add to that. It's the only time that you can happily use zero water. So zero water for topping up because of evaporation is a good thing to do, because by adding in zero water, you're replacing the water that evaporated. Does that make sense? Okay, and that isn't going to alter anything like pH or anything like that. So zero water, I mean, topping up really. I mean, you're only talking. I mean, you're not talking major quantities of water here. We're talking like, whatever, a glass of water or something like that. Whatever that might be, and just warm it a little bit as you would normally, and then just top up your aquarium, and that will just help to regulate your TDS, and then when you do your water change, you're going to take it all back down. So there you are. So I'm sorry I've told you another product that some of you are going to think, oh God, now what's he adding to my buy list? Off to Amazon again. But look into zero water if you're at that sort of in that place where your water is just not any good. And I'm sorry if I've added to your shopping list. Certainly get one of these. You will find them in a way they're a bit. Don't get addicted to them either. Checking every 10 minutes, because one thing you'll notice with them is that things change. If you take a TDS reading of your tap water and then take a TDS the next day, I can almost put money on that it won't be the same, and because things in supply also change, and so does pH. A lot of us are not measuring to that. I mean, we struggle to work out the colour difference on pH on test strips and things like that, or even on the test kit. You know, you're looking at it and you think, is it that? I'm not really sure which of this is my pH. I'm not really sure. I'll go and look in a different light, and you're not any further clearer. But pH changes in your aquarium through the day. You know, from day to day and through the day. And TDS is the same. You'll likely get variations in reading, and what you're looking for, in a way, are trends. Is what I would say. You know, that incremental rise. So there you are. So yeah. So hopefully, I think I've covered it. Now another thing you could do, just one more thing you could do, is you could use an alternative. If you didn't want to go down this route of zero water, you could look for an alternative sort of water to cut with your tap water. Now, I do like, and that's why I often have these bottles, I do like, I'm going to have to say Sainsbury's, because that's where I get it from, but this is from Sainsbury's, and I do like their water, and the pH is about right, and everything else about it is about right. Now, there's another very posh shop in the UK, I don't know how wide they are, but who do nice foods and things like that. So this is their still natural mineral water. Let's have a look. I'm just going to add it into here. So this is mineral water. It's on. There you are. So this has a TDS of 102, which is very good, you might think. But always read the label. So it's got a good TDS. Nitrate in here is 29 parts per million. So 29. So in effect, it's got a high nitrate. That's higher than my tap nitrate, and I think that's bad. But this has a high nitrate level. So you know, you might be going for one thing in terms of the benefit, but you're putting in elevated sort of nitrates. So yeah, you need to thoroughly look into things if you think of doing that. But so you could, if you wanted to. I'm gonna put that in front again. That's quite a good water because it's not mineral water. It's from a it's still water from the mountains. But it depends on cost because to get one of these, look into them. The jugs and things are quite cheap, but then the filter system on them is probably it's a bit like sort of colour printers for your computer. It's the ink that gets you, not the purchase of the printer. It's a bit like this with these. The filters sort of add up, but so if you go onto Zero Water's website, you can have a look. You can have a look at the products they do, and you can have a look how long a filter will work in your for your aquarium if that's what you wanted to do. So there you go, another product you can think about. I think I would go down the Zero Water route because then you're in total control of it, and you can do all your measurements and things like that. And then once you establish that a quarter, an eighth of proportion or a quarter of Zero Water to tap water gets you in the right sort of in a much better place. It might get you in the right place, but it might get you in a much better place. Then that's something you need to solve. It's either that or move to a place where the tap water is far better, which you're not going to do. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. I hope that at least solves some of the problems that you might have with TDS. I look forward to receiving sort of comments from you guys about what your TDS is and a range of other things, and you know, can help if you've still got problems. So that's it from me. That's it for this video. Just say a big thank you for watching it. Thank you for subscribing, but please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and take care.